One. All right. Hello there, Lashun. Would you like to introduce yourself to the podcast here? I stuttered a little bit there.
Okay, I'm Lashun Shipman. I actually own a transaction coordinating business called Corvus's LLC. So basically, we just help agents manage their files once they get everything on the contract.
Nice, nice. And can you talk about your, I guess, growing up or like your beginnings in a way?
I guess, okay, how I grew up. So I grew up in North Carolina, small town called Hollister. It's so small, I think there's one stoplight there, and it's not even an actual stoplight, it's just the one that blinks. Um, really, I mean, my upbringing was just, I'm from the country, so all we did was just play outside,
Hmm.
all that good stuff, nothing too exciting. Um, Growing up, I did always say I wanted to own a business or basically be able to travel the world anytime that I want. And I would say I have that dream now. Um, as far as my career background, I did a lot of customer service. But my career really began when I got into the HR world. I did that for about 3 years. Kind of got tired of it because I was working around the clock, and then I ended up getting into real estate.
Hmm.
Had this dream of owning, being a broker in charge, and having a team, and also dabbling a little bit in mortgages, so forth and so on. So I kind of wanted like this one um, big one-stop shop um, place for all of my clients. After a little bit of personal stuff went on, um, I decided to shift from a realtor into becoming a transaction coordinator with the help of the Five Pillars team because they were growing at the time and needed to add a new transaction coordinator. So I took that role and really got to learn how to do transaction coordinating, how to set up all of the processes and so forth. So they were a really big help in helping me start my business when I moved here to Tennessee.
Okay. Now we got some more questions on that one, Lashun. So let me break it down a little bit. So what is a transaction coordinator for people that are like they're into real estate, like they're first timers, they're like, what is he talking about? What is a transaction coordinator? Is my realtor supposed to do everything?
Okay, so with a transaction coordinator, we are there to assist the realtor. So basically, when a realtor gets a property on the contract, they'll hand it over to us. I actually have an intake form where they fill out to give us all of the contact information of their client, any special notes about the deal, and so forth and so on. From there, we check the documents, make sure that they're in compliance. And then we introduce ourselves to their client, the lender, the attorney, everyone involved in the deal. And basically, we are the bridge to everything. We communicate with everyone, make sure everyone's needs are met, that everyone knows what's going on with the real estate transaction. If there are any documents that need to be drafted and need to get for signatures throughout the deal, then we take care of that. We really just take care of every piece of the transaction until it closes. The only thing that we do not do as transaction coordinators is negotiate any repairs, anything like that. That's because I feel like the realtors have built a relationship with their buyers or sellers. So that part's very important because the buyers and seller wants to talk over things with someone that they've already built that trust with. Also, it's their license on the line, so I rather for them to handle any negotiations and then tell us if we need to put anything in a document and so forth.
Nice. And is a transaction coordinator the same? Do they do the job of a listing coordinator as well? Or a listing agent?
Some can. We just started offering that service. We don't really do like any of the boots on the ground work. But once the agent gets a listing agreement signed, then what we would do is research the property, make sure there's no assessments, special
Hmm.
assessments, make sure that we, have looked at the deed, make sure that the taxes were paid, find the plat, and any other special documents that that property may have or need, and then we'll enter it into the MLS for the agent. Um, so that's what we would do on the listing side for agents.
Nice. And you said you were a realtor first, correct, LaShawn?
Yes.
Now, what made you want to become a realtor?
It's funny because what made me want to become a realtor is that when I bought my house in Fayetteville, um, a realtor named Faircloth was my realtor. And she just made it look like it was just the best career ever to have. She just seemed so happy in what she was doing. And at the time, like I was already looking into finding a career change that will allow me to be at home more because I traveled a lot and was away from home a lot. Um, and so I started asking her questions about real estate and how things work. And so she gave me the whole rundown on what I would need and so forth and so on. So I gave it a little bit of time and then I ended up signing up for the course and I took the course. I bombed the test like 3 times. And so I kind of gave up a little bit because I was frustrated. And so about a year after that, year and a half after that, I went back and took the class again and made sure that I studied. Um, and then I was going to wait a little bit to take my test, but one day I got really frustrated at my old job. And I was in Ohio working. I had been there, I think, for 2 weeks at that time. And so I was like, I wonder if I can take my test here since it's online. And I researched it. I found out I was able to take my test um, online at the PSI Center in Ohio. And I went and took it. And I just kind of felt like I was going to fail. But uh, the computer went out. And usually for me, that means, oh, I don't failed too many questions. But nope, I passed it. And I kind of had a little slight butterflies in my stomach. So I was excited.
And
And
then
then I went home that weekend and something happened with my job. And I just woke up that Monday morning. I was like, I'm just so tired of this career in this company. And so I ended up calling my boss and telling her that I was done. And I just jumped right into real estate.
man, and what was the reality when you went when it was it as exciting as your first realtor said?
Um,
I want the
it
honest truth.
There was a mix of emotions because I was a little scared because this was something risky. I went from having a corporate job that paid me every week, had car allowance, company credit card, all this stuff, and now nothing to rely on. It was just what energy I put into this. I'm going to have to make it work because I don't have no income anymore. Um, and then I had to learn how to cold call, which was scary for me because I'm kind of an introvert. Like I don't really do a lot of putting myself out there and stuff. So I had to learn how to suck it up and do that. Um, I think that was the most hardest thing for me was the cold calling and also I just didn't want to bother anyone. I always felt like I was bothering someone when I called them. Um, it was a mix of emotions. I did like right now looking back, I would say I wish I had waited to leave my job. Only because financially it kind of put me in a bind for a little bit. I would have either properly saved up um, to quit my job and then do real estate. That way I can survive off my savings,
Mhm.
or I would have just worked a little bit longer and got a couple deals under my belt so I could save commission and also build up my leads and so forth, and then left my career. But I think everything happens for a reason. I don't think if I was still working, I would have took it as seriously and really like pushed myself to put myself out there.
Nice. Okay. And what made you transition to were you work under someone for being a transaction coordinator or how did that work out? Like, oh, it's just
Um,
something that popped out.
I joined, when did I think I joined Five Pillars team as a realtor because I left the real estate company that um it was at home realty.
Hmm.
I left there and went over to EXP, Five Pillars team, because a lot of the training and also the type of environment that they had um, fit me a little bit better. Um, and so that's why I went over there. And when I told them that I was relocating to Tennessee at the end of January, they offered me the transaction coordinator position there. And so that really allowed me to kind of understand that side of things because I already understood how a transaction went because I've sold and listed houses. And I kind of understood how the admin part went, but they really taught me how to do a lot more of better practices and stuff. And I think being a transaction coordinator has also allowed me to understand real estate rules and how to be a little bit more creative with transactions as well.
Nice, nice. And were they teaching you all that, or did you go at it yourself since you knew how to do it?
They, so it was kind of both. I kind of already had an idea of how
Hmm.
things worked, especially because when I was an agent on the team, I've worked with the transaction coordinators hand in hand. Um, and so I kind of learned how they did things a little bit, but they taught me a lot more when I actually transitioned to the transaction coordinating role.
Nice. Okay. And whenever you were doing the whole transaction coordinator, like, is that when do you have your own business doing all this?
Yes.
Okay. Well, so what were the steps towards that? Like, were you like, okay, I want to start doing this for myself because it'll make me more money, or what was the reasoning of starting your own business?
Um, the team changed their structure. So at first, my pay came directly from the team. It was a salary. And they changed their structure to basically eliminate their team split stuff. And they wanted to kind of create more of a community where you have people that you can basically network with and still have there for resource and training. So that meant there were going to be no more admin team. Every agent was basically going to have to get everything themselves. And so they were actually nice enough to let everybody know like a month or two in advance. That way we could prepare for what we want to do. And that actually allowed me to go ahead and start the business. Um, they did help me a lot. Um, so like Shelby Osborne and Michael Glaspie, they kind of met with me to make sure that I understood how to start a business, what questions I had, and really coached me on how to do everything. So basically, to start it, I had to think about my systems.
Hmm.
What systems was I going to use to make sure that this transition doesn't cause me to drop the ball with any of the agents that, I've already built the relationship with. And so I really had to work day and night into building the systems, building a website, building things to get myself out there. And if I do meet with new clients, how that's going to go, so forth and so on. So I have this whole notebook of basically what I realize now is my business plan. But to me, at the time, I was just writing out my thoughts and notes and scribbling and making drawings to see how I want the logo to look and so forth and so on.
And what were some of the things that if someone, let's say someone's trying to start their own business as well, what are some things that they need to set up? Like, do they need something LLC? Do they need to have like a transaction, like a PayPal? Like, what do they need in order to like the minimal things that they need to start and run a business?
Um, so as far as what kind of entity they want to be, I would feel like they need to basically do their research and figure out what's going to work best for them.
Hmm.
I chose an LLC because I didn't want um, full liability for anything to come back to me personally. I wanted it to be a company, and that's why I chose a LLC. As far as systems, I did a ton of research. I mean, I already knew what systems that my team was using, but I kind of wanted to do my research to make sure I'm choosing the most cost-effective system, that also helped me be more efficient. So I researched everything. I thought about all the what ifs. Um, what if I get contracts? How am I going to keep up with what task I need to do? Once I close something with the agent, how are they going to pay me? And then I even thought about all of the different policies and stuff up front. So I would say someone who wants to start a business, they need to first think about what entity that they want to be. If they want to be a sole proprietor, LLC, and so forth. Then you need to think about the systems that you're going to use to um, make yourself efficient. So that'll be a transaction management system. How are you going to handle your invoicing? And also communication. I have to think about, do I want everyone communicating with me on my personal line or get something separate so I can kind of separate business and personal life. And then I thought about email. Do I want to just use a regular old Gmail or do I want it to look official and have a company domain and so forth? And then you need to think about your policies. What's going to happen if a contract terminates? What are your pricing, your business hours? What's going to happen if, you and the agent don't work out and you guys decide that you need to part ways? How would that look? And then I took it a step further and kind of thought like an agent and thought about like, what if I'm working with one agent and then another agent, but we're all on the same deal? So I thought about it as an agent as far as ethics and made sure that I put in there in my policy, my service agreement, that if that happens, I would treat it like a dual agent situation where I will be more careful with how I communicate and so forth. Um, so yeah, basically it's how you want to get set up, what systems you're going to use, and also think about your policy so you can create a service agreement for your potential clients.
Gotcha. And what about hiring people? Because I know for me doing research on you, you have a couple people that I know that works underneath you, and I'm like, okay, so how'd you get those people, or how'd you vet people to work for you?
Um, well, Sarah, um, w- we were already friends because she was on operations management for Five Pillars team. So when they changed their structure of the team, that meant her position was going as well. So I was kind of like, hey, you want to just do this thing together? Because she was interested in doing transaction coordinating. So it was easier for her to kind of not have to worry about setting up all the systems and stuff, even though she did help me a lot, like a ton of lot. Um, and then as far as the other two, well, everyone else that I have, when we got busy enough, I reached out to Amber Ferguson, um, to see if she was interested in helping us like entering data into our systems when we get new contracts. So she was on board with that because that's what she already did herself. So I basically kind of recruited people who were already familiar with the admin side of real estate. Um, our other person, Jade, she actually was studying for her real estate license and decided,
Mhm.
I'd rather be a transaction coordinator. So I trained her and she's doing very well. And
Nice.
then our other young lady, Holly, she actually has a background in the attorney's office on the real estate side. So I have everyone who is somewhat experienced in some way in real estate, and those were the people that I was looking for.
Okay. And how does a payment system work? Is it like a regular W-2, or they what is it like subcontracting, or how does that work?
I decided to hire people as 1099 contractors,
Mhm.
just so I didn't have to worry about payroll taxes and uh, the insurances and stuff that would have to go on with that. It was just easier for me to hire them as contractors. As far as pay, everyone gets paid per file that they close. Um, and that's something that someone may need to think about when they start a transaction coordinating business is how's their team going to get paid and when they're going to get paid. Because at first I was trying to pay everyone as soon as they close a
Mhm.
transaction, but that came a little bit too much trying to every day trying to process payments. So, I spoke with my team and we all agreed that, payment on the first and the 15th would work. So basically what we do is anything closed between the first and the 15th, well, the first and the 14th, they would get paid out for all those transactions on the 15th. And then from the 15th to the last day of the month, they would get paid for all those transactions that they closed on the first. So that was a bit easier for me to be able to manage the business side, behind the scenes stuff, but also still be able to manage my own contracts that I get as well.
Nice. And do you function all in one building, or is it all just work from home?
We're all remote.
Nice.
Um, I'm in Tennessee, Amber is in Florida, and Jade, Sarah, and Holly are in Fayetteville.
Yeah. Is it a little difficult to manage all that?
It's not, and it's not because we don't have to go to the properties physically. We're basically handling all the paperwork and any scheduling of inspections that we need to do. It's either go online and fill out the forms and pick an appointment, or call the inspection company or email the inspection company to request appointments.
Nice, nice. And with the with the cold calling, how did you teach that, or how did you learn it the best? Because I know, or not, I guess talking to people in general. Because you said you were like an introvert, so how did you overcome that, or where did you learn to basically somewhat handle it?
Um, as a realtor and also now, because we grew through word of mouth and now I'm figuring out that I need to come up with a marketing plan,
Mhm.
and also do some lead generation. So now I'm back to the cold calling. I just make myself do it. Um, I just kind of tell myself in my head that I'm overreacting, that it's fine. I just need to do it. And after like that first call, I calm down. Um, as far as like calling any of the buyers and sellers and the attorneys and stuff, that didn't make me nervous at all, just because I came from a customer service background in call centers, and then I came from the human resource background, so I was already used to, interacting with people. So I know how to turn the switch on and then turn it off.
Nice. And what was the most like difficult part about your business? Like you were kind of like scared in a way, or it was the worst experience.
Um, with being a realtor, the most scariest part for me was not consistently cultivating my leads, and because I get excited that I got what, six on the contract, um, and then by the time those close, I'm like, shoot, I'm back at square one again, where I have to kind of get back out there and build more leads. So I kind of figured out that that needs to be consistent. Like I need to not ever stop, you know, getting leads and talking to people. I have to always stay in front of people.
Yeah.
And so now I have to basically implement that into this business because we were so busy with our growth that I didn't stay in front of people. Um, and that's where I struggle now, is now that we've kind of hit the slow season of real estate. We've gotten less and less production as far as getting contracts in. So now I realize that is an area where I need to tighten up for my ship.
I like that. And how are you going to scale your business from now and in the future?
Um, I have an idea of operating like a brokerage. And what I mean by that is my goal is to have everything set up in my business as far as the systems. I want to make sure that they are um, very tight and organized. I want to create training material, um, especially like kind of an online classroom style training material. And the goal is to recruit other people who want a TC business, but don't really want to deal with the systems and stuff. So it's kind of like when you have an agent, a new agent, and you're a firm and you want to bring on more agents. Um, so I want to bring on more TCs, show them how to um, basically market and get their own business, meaning their own agents to hire them. And that way they will have all the systems set up and so forth. And the only thing that I would charge is just what I'm going to call is a Corvus's management fee.
Okay. Nice. And what are you investing into now? Are you buying real estate? How's that going?
I'm going to get back to that. So my focus right now is basically getting my business to a point where I'm not having to work in it. I can work on it. Um, and that'll allow me to kind of tighten things up and get ready for my next um, goal that I have for my business. And I also want to get back to selling here in Tennessee. So the plan is to get everything going for my business to where I don't need to take in contracts, get back to selling real estate so I can use those commissions to finance my investment opportunities. And I would really love to get started with investing by the end of next year here in Tennessee. And I want to use the subject to method.
Nice. And can you explain the subject to method for the people that are listening?
So, from what I understand with the subject to method, you have someone that may be behind on their mortgage, or maybe have lost their job and they're not behind yet, but they may be soon. Basically, you're helping someone get out of a bad situation. So, for instance, if you were behind on your mortgage and but you haven't foreclosed yet, I would come to you with this opportunity. I would kind of ask you some questions, try to figure out what do you need to properly get yourself moved into another home. Maybe you also want to relocate out of state. So let's just say we figure out what your payoff balance is for your mortgage. You let me know what you would need to move. Maybe it's $10,000, and I would have my own drafted up agreement that explains the subject to method and so forth. And what will happen is I will give you your money once the attorney does all the documents, title search, and so forth, and we get to closing. I will give you your money, and you would move and relocate or whatever. The mortgage would stay in your name, but I would make the payments. So you would have to give me access to the account to make the payments, and we would agree on a time period of that. So maybe we would agree that for 1 year, you would leave the mortgage in your name and I would continuously make the payments. And then after a year, I would refinance to pay off your mortgage and get one into my name.
Now, what are the
Um,
pros and cons of doing that method?
the pros would be your mortgage payments would get caught back up. You would get money to help you move. Um, and also this gives me my investment property to, invest in to fix up and then rent back out so I can get that monthly income. And then for the whole year, you're getting your mortgage paid, which is going to help your credit. So that means you didn't have anything go into foreclosure. So it won't ruin your credit. And then once I do refinance and stuff, then you have that whole thing um, paid off. I will guess the cons would be is if I don't make the payments,
Hmm.
and that will mess you up. Or to me, that's really the only con is the biggest risk is me not paying your mortgage. I guess the other risk would also be, the homeowner refinancing, or taking out an equity loan and stuff behind my back, and now that screws up everything that we agreed upon.
Now, people probably are wondering, like, how are you finding people like this? It's like a niche in a way. So, how would you find these type of people? Like, what devices or what tools are you using to locate these people that are looking for subject to?
Um, I'm still learning a little bit about the process, but from what I understand, you can get with a wholesaler and they'll be able to help you like find properties where it seems like the owners may need a little help or they may want to move, or maybe they have a lead and they send it to you and like, hey, this person is 3 months behind on their mortgage and they seem like they really want to move and so forth and so on. So for me, I think it would be finding a good wholesaler to partner with.
Nice. And you said, are you advertising right now as well are you like running ads or like are you marketing in a way?
Not for investing. I'm working on my transaction coordinating company to get some marketing done for that and to keep myself out there in front of people.
Okay, nice. And you said, have you done wholesaling before? Like since you were a realtor, have
I
you done
have
both?
I have not.
Okay. And no, that's good because usually what I see in a lot of people like this is what I recommend for a lot of people like a lot of people they want to go long-term rental right away.
Hmm.
I'm like, whoa, take some baby steps, right? Learn the math, learn all this stuff. How about you do level one wholesaling, right? Learn how to because you're not really losing as much. You can do this for free technically. All you're losing
Hmm.
is time. And for a 20-year-old and like a young guy or anybody that's doesn't have as much going, I guess in a way, just like either in college you could do this like on a weekend. I would say level two is once you have enough money in your account, in your bank, start flipping houses, right? Learn how, okay, that sucks. Like I feel like the best way to learn is through experience. And then level three would be long-term investing, such as I'm not a big fan of single families yet. I have like one single family right now. I'm gonna sell that soon. But I got two single families now that I think about it. But uh with my multifamily, like I talked to Alex Felice about it. He's like, yeah, man, you just gotta buy more multifamily. That's all. If you do that and make sure it cash flows, you'll be fine. I'm like, because for me, I know for myself, I over analyze a bunch of stuff, right? Yeah, like
Hmm.
when you were saying, hey, I do the what ifs about business. I think I do what ifs like on steroids, where I'm like, okay, if this person were to step on this land at this time, maybe I'm like, okay, no, I gotta stop thinking like that. But
That's actually me too. I have to
okay,
have all of the information. I need to ask all of the questions. And that's a blessing and a curse
it
because
is, it
sometimes
is,
it can take you too long to do
yeah.
something.
If people say it's like analysis paralysis, but I'm like, but I have to know for me to like I'm trying to aim and shoot. I'm not trying to just spray everywhere and just make sure at least one of them gets hit. But I know a lot of investors that are like they're just hey, if I'll just buy it, whatever. But sometimes I'm like, hey, you guys bought it for grapes, you know what I mean? Like these houses that you guys bought 20 years ago. I get it. You guys it was cheap. Maybe interest rates were high, but it was still cheap. Uh, but for like someone like you and me, like I do see that, hey, we gotta sit there and analyze the deal, make sure it works 100%. And again, I think it does come with systems. So I know that I overanalyze things. So I make spreadsheets or I make uh codes that make it where any information that I put in, it would process everything quicker. So if I'm
Hmm.
like for example, if people were looking at this house and they were like trying to calculate the rehab and I'm used to whatever it looks like. Like, oh, I'm used to like, a roof needs this, HVAC needs that. So all I gotta do is put in my program, like, hey, this is what I see. It pops out, boom. Like, yes, this is a deal. Go for it. You'll make this much money. But if I were to not have technology on my side, I'll be spending like days on like calculating, getting my paper. I'm like, okay, but what about this? What about this? Right. But if as long as I answer the main questions, like, is this will this cash flow on day one? Will this is this in a good location? Because I do feel like I do say like our brain is not meant to keep storage. It's meant to come up with new ideas, right?
Hmm.
So I think I have Alzheimer's or something because I be forgetting stuff every day. I'm like, what did I do that? What did I eat? Like I mean, but for me, I have like a notepad where I keep all my notes, and then I have a whole system in place. Like you said, systems is what you need. And for yourself, like what is like probably like the best tool or best software that you're using to help, you know, consolidate all that information or run your business in a way?
The biggest tool that we rely on heavily is open to close. It's our TC management system. It's we spend a lot of time setting that up because it's so customizable. Um, it basically from how we built it, once we plug in the contract dates and stuff, it automatically tells us what we need to do for the transaction, such as check on if the due diligence money has arrived yet and see if you can go ahead and get the receipt from the seller. Um, check in with the lender and attorney
Mhm.
this week. It just we just set it up to where it gives us stuff to do based off the dates, and that's really helpful. And then it allows us to also leave notes in the system. That way, if we got like 20 files, we're not confusing them altogether. We can go pull that file up in the system and know, hey, we spoke to the appraiser yesterday, well, not the appraiser, the lender yesterday, and this is what they said. Um, so we rely on that very heavily. I think if that ever goes down, we would be in chaos.
That's the one thing. If internet or anything just went down, we would be kind of sucked in a way. You have to go back in the day because I did a podcast with another guy, and he was buying real estate back in the day by printing off like papers from
Hmm.
the MLS by going to the library and like having physical copies of like the MLS going through. I'm like, God damn, I have it on my phone. You have it like you have to literally go into the library physically, spend time getting papers printed off. I'm like, nope, nope. I need technology.
But also, I think that was a very different time in real estate back then. It
Oh yeah,
wasn't so fast like it is now. Like I can right now, new home can pop up, and then I can just go ahead and schedule a showing with an agent right away. Back then, you probably had to call and leave voicemail and wait for someone to return your call and so forth.
of course. And like in the when you first started your business, how'd you finance everything? Like how'd you finance paying people in the beginning? I bet it was a really rough start. Uh,
It was actually easy just because it's not really a lot of overhead to run a TC business. It's mostly you paying for your systems. And so before um, I started the business, I kind of made sure I put a little bit of money to the side to help me pay for the systems when it was time to go live. Um, and then as far as paying people, no one gets paid unless, they close a file. So that part was pretty easy too.
nice.
The
And
only person that is not paid per file is our assistant.
uh,
So I actually check the finances weekly just to make sure we would have enough closings and whatnot to cover the hours that the assistant will work. And if not, then of course I would have to manage that and say, hey, we'll, let you off. Well, we need you to take off maybe Friday or something.
I like that. And how do you make sure that your is your team going to be there forever in a way? Not forever, but are they going to be there in a long time? Or do you expect like using your what ifs, using your systems like, hey, they're going to be gone in the next 2 years. I got to find somebody to take their spot.
Um, for the most part, I think we have a very solid team. Um, Everyone seems to enjoy it because they still get to basically be in real estate, but have the flexibility to work from anywhere. So it doesn't really make their work-life balance difficult. Um, I don't really see anyone leaving, but of course, I gotta think about the what ifs.
Yeah.
So, I'm constantly getting to know people and so forth, and especially people in the real estate world, because you do have especially new agents that start, and then after a year, they're like, I don't want to do this.
Mhm.
Um, but I do think my team will stick together for a long time just because this is helping them fund their own uh, real estate deals as well. Like Sarah, she's been able to work really hard with TCing and make enough money to help her invest in her own properties. Um, Amber, our assistant, she's doing something she really loves, and she has actually created her own virtual assistant company, so that puts her in a space to where she has her own business, and we're just, one of her customers. Um, Jade, she really likes real estate investing, so this does help her get the flexibility to kind of work in real estate
Mhm.
and learn about all the different ways because we deal with so much stuff with every transaction because every transaction is different. So yeah, I don't see anyone leaving, but I do want my team to grow. So whatever they feel like they need to grow, even if it's leaving the company, I do encourage that. I don't get mad, I don't get upset or anything. I push them to do it. Um, and I just make sure I talk to people. That way, if someone does leave, I already have someone that may be interested.
Yeah. And for someone that wants to like be in your team or anything, do they need to get their real estate license or can they just join in uh and just learn from your training and then start working?
Um, that is something that I have thrown in and out of my head for a long time, just because I was the only one licensed on my team. But now we have Sarah working on getting her license. Jay ended up getting her license after joining us. And Amber is actually working on taking classes as well. The only one who isn't going to have a license is Holly. Um, but I feel like to protect me and the company, it would be more wise for me to require a TC to have a license.
Mhm. I agree
That,
with that as well.
yeah, that way they get kind of the knowledge of real estate, and then we can apply that to what they do here.
And what is that one tip that helped out your business succeed so far?
I think the one thing that has honestly helped my business grow is the fact that I was licensed and experienced in real estate. That allowed the agents to really trust me a lot more. Um, and yeah, it just allowed them to trust a lot more and let go and let us to actually do our jobs for them. And then they found when they do that, it allowed them to close more deals or free up time for them to do other things like start another business in the real estate lane or somewhere else.
Nice. And I don't know about you, but I have this problem as well. It's having a work-life balance, right? So I know I spend like people are like, "Oh yeah, if you're gonna start a business, you gotta have an 80-hour work week." I'm like, Are you serious?" Because I have a 120-hour work week. Like I'm spending like almost like I can't for me having fun, right? It's like, but I'll be spending less time on creating this. Like for me, I I wrote a book, right? And it's
hmm
published on Amazon and everything, right? I love that. And I'm working on my next book. I'm like, so I do like the Stephen King method where he spends like an hour a day, right? Every
hmm
day you work on a compound effect, right? And I'm like, I'm doing that, but I would like to do more. But at that time, I scheduled myself to like, hey, have some, calming, whatever, like play some video games or do something that's not work related. But I'm like, but I love doing my work. I love actually doing real estate. I love doing podcast business, right? So how would you do you have that same problem as well? Like,
I had that problem um, actually with my human resource career. Um, I would recruit all day and then hire in the evenings, and then I would go to my plants because I managed food processing plants. I would go there and show the new hires around, talk to management and so forth. And a lot of times I wouldn't go to bed till 3 or 4 in the morning. And then I would be back up at 7 a.m. because I had reports that I would need to turn in about staffing and so forth and so on. So I did that for almost 4 years and I burnt myself out. And so when I started working for myself, um, as a realtor, I carried that habit on into being a realtor. And so when I got into transaction coordinating, I said that I would manage the agent's expectations, but also manage my own. And so what I did was up front, I would let them know our business hours, which was Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5 p.m. Um, and in the beginning, I did kind of have to work a little bit harder. After managing transactions all day, I would spend time build continuing to build the systems and stuff. But once everything got to where I wanted it to be,
Mhm.
just about, I told myself that I would stick sternly to my schedule, and I started using time blocking. So I would time block time for business stuff, but also for personal stuff. And basically, if it's not in my calendar, it ain't happening.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. But for me, I utilize my calendar too, and I'm like, sometimes I don't follow the stuff on there. I'm like, ah, shit. All right, and I kind of go off road on it.
Well,
Y-
I kind of think about it as if you don't invest in yourself, like
mhm.
your mental health and your physical health, how are you going to be able to invest in your business?
Yeah,
Because if you get sick or you get down and depressed or just burn yourself out, then your business is going to suffer. So it's important to make the time for yourself.
you know what? That's actually a good point because I'll make an analogy. So those that are cash flowing on their properties, right? They're like, yes, but they're not counting in for an HVAC or a new roof. And
Hmm.
when that comes down, look at that. You just lost 3 years of your rent from basically just one HVAC. Same thing as a person, like if you're working hard, like 40, like you're not getting enough rest for yourself, you're not taking care of yourself, you can get sick for like a week or two. And like for example, like COVID or something, right? And look at that, the return on investment, you just lost so much time just because you weren't taking care of yourself, you were eating like crap, you weren't working out, and you're kind of now suffering what you didn't like put in. You're not so I do see like the analogy on that, like, oh, you were excited because now your business is up, but now it's going down because you're not there and you're sick and you didn't put the proper systems in place for yourself and for the business.
Yeah. When I was in that human resource career, I gained so much weight. I used to wear a size 34 in pants, and then I got all the way up to a 42.
Damn.
Um,
Wow. Oh God.
and my doctor had to put me on blood pressure medication and told me if I don't lose weight, then I would be on there permanently. I always felt sluggish. I had migraines every single day because of the stress from the job. And then when I started working for myself, like I really didn't work out a lot, but I did start working out, sometimes. And I started not eating out a lot. I ate more at home so I can manage what I was putting into my body. And so I got back down to from a 42 down to a 36.
Congratulations.
So that also made me see that it's important that I learn to balance both.
Man, that's amazing that you know because a lot of people they're like they'll still play the victim mindset. They're like, ah, I mean, it's the world. I gotta work, and I mean, this weight, it's just water or something. And they're like, I, I'm making so much sacrifices, so I can't lose the weight. But you done it. So
I mean,
props to you.
I thought like that for a long time.
Hmm.
Um, but I just kind of got tired of having a migraine every day and feeling like I was dragging five heavy trash bag around. That's exactly what I felt like I was dragging something heavy around, and the something heavy was me.
God, I love that. And now we can move on to the ending questions here, LaShawn. So, if you can go back in time and tell your younger self something, what would it be?
Um, it would honestly be that I do not have to follow everyone and go to college just because, and I say that not to tell anyone not to go to college, but
Hmm.
school was not for me. I barely went to school. My grades were good, but I barely went to school. I hated going. I just wanted to work. And I got into the career of human resources by my, persistence and getting to know the right people and also elevating my skill set. And if I had have known that that's what it would take for me to get where I want to be, then I wouldn't have put myself in student loan debt.
Hmm.
So that's what I would tell my younger self. Don't be a follower. Just do what you dream of doing.
Nice. Okay. And what question would you like to ask your future self?
Um, that's a really good question. Never thought about that. I would say I would probably ask my future self what habits do I need to change in order to get to where my future self is at
Oh,
that moment.
that's powerful right there. That was real powerful. And what do you think the secret sauce is into becoming very successful?
I think the secret sauce is to never stop learning because you are going to continuously learn about yourself because you're going on a journey that changes you.
Hmm.
And then you can never stop learning about the industry that you're in because things change every day. And then you're always learning about new people. So you just never stop learning.
Nice. I love that. And is there a quote that you live by?
Um, there is actually not a quote that I live by. I'm trying to think.
Not even a company quote?
I mean, our company quote is helping your business run smoothly. But other than that, I guess I always tell myself never give up
Never
because
give up.
yeah, because there's things frustrate me all the time. And when you get frustrated with things, you kind of just want to throw it to the side. But I guess the perfectionist in me um, kind of tells myself, stop complaining, don't give up. There's got to be a way.
Yeah,
That's the quote that I kind of always tell myself. There's got to be a way. If I hit a brick wall, I'm not gonna stop until I find out how to get over it or knock down that brick wall.
like that. I love that. So yeah, like you always got to figure out a way. I always say like, hey, like an entrepreneur, you're a problem solver. So if the bigger the problem is, the bigger your paycheck is going to be. So if you could solve that, you'll be fantastic. And what books would you recommend for certain situations in your life, or books that just helped out, like in general in certain categories?
So, fun fact about me, I can absolutely not stand reading. As
God.
soon as I open a book, I kind of fall asleep. Um, but one book that I've started reading recently is called Power Shift by Damon John. And in that book, he kind of talks about how you shift your power so that you can take whatever you're doing in your life to the next level.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like your pivot point. What are you going to do to pivot things to go into your direction that you wanted to go to and take full control of it?
Okay, man. Okay, I want to hit that book up too.
He has quite a few books. I've been reading that book slowly because, as I said, I kind of hate reading, but I'm learning to love it. Um, but he has a couple other books that I think I'm gonna get as well because this one has kind of helped me learn how I need to do a power shift in my business from working in it as a transaction coordinator to being a full business owner and working on the business to make sure, systems are running smoothly
Hmm.
and that I can focus on growing.
Nice. Okay. I'm definitely gonna get a look at that book. And we have a special segment here, right? It's called Spinning the Wheel, right? It's the only
Okay.
podcast you'll ever see this on. So if I spin this, it's a question that you just gotta answer. So, oh, last meal. All right, LaShawn. Let's say you're on death row. All right. For some odd
hmm
reason, we found out that you're the next big criminal, right? And you did something huge. Okay. But officer gives you this last meal. What would it be?
My last meal will probably be um I, it's going to be a country meal, so it's going to have to be hamburger with gravy, some mashed potatoes, and maybe mac and cheese.
Okay. Okay. I'm surprised you didn't say any collard greens either.
Maybe so.
Any drinks?
Um, Probably just water. I'm just really a big water fan. Water or coffee or wine is what I love. So
Okay.
I think I would choose wine.
Last meal. All right. And our final two questions coming up is second to last is there anything that you would like to tell your mother or father?
Um, I would like to tell my father to, I guess, thank you because he kind of instilled that never, like, there's got to be a way mentality into me. He's always worked for himself, so always had that to look forward to. And then for my mom, like, she kind of always taught me how to be humble and nice to people. And I got all of my organizational skills and uh, the some of the ways that I think from her as well.
Nice. And finally, how can people reach out to you?
People can reach out to me by I have my work number, which is 910-502-3511. Or if you got any questions about transaction coordinating, either you are looking for someone to help you or you want to start your own business, you can email me at info@corvassist.com. And the corvassist.com part is COREV as in victory, assist.com.
Nice. And do you have a website as well, LaShawn?
Yes, it's www.corvassist.com. You got to make sure you put the www because for some reason it doesn't pull up if you just do corvassist.com.
Really? Okay. Man, and it's great having you here. You were awesome. Not gonna lie.
Thank you. It was actually my first podcast, so I've been thinking all day, like, I got the podcast today. How do I prepare for it? What is he gonna ask me?
No, it's all good. It's just a normal conversation. A lot of people they do feel like, oh, it's good. It's gonna be scary. I'm like, nah. And then now a lot more people like yourself. I'm not gonna be surprised if you're gonna start hopping on more podcasts on other people's platforms. You're like, yeah, I'm a pro at this. Yeah, just
It
have me on. You'll be
it
on a
would be
bigger
fun.
pockets soon.
It would be fun to do that.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna end it right here.